Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Sunday Brunch. I am Chris Parrish alongside my boys Alex, Mighty Joe, Lawrence, and Bobby Munson. But before we get to introductions, I want to make sure I give a quick plug to our beautiful sponsor, Mr. RK Athletics, who is, just a good guy. Not only that, he knows how to get you fit. He knows how to get you ready in the day. If you're thinking I'm going to wake up and I want to order all the grease I can and put it on a plate like I do because I don't care about the way I look, then you want to do that. But if you don't, and if you actually care about your figure, you go to RK Athletics where you talk about, health and say and like all that good stuff. And you look like Rich King, who looks absolutely amazing. And thank you, RK, for being there since day one. But back to the introductions. Over here to this side of me, we got Alex, Ecto Guy 87. I got it right the first time because I slowly did it.
Hey, there you go.
Alex, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's been a interesting past 12 hours. I definitely got some sleep, much needed. But now I'm here with my Love Wrestling mug full of my good stuff, and I'm ready to talk some more wrestling here on Sunday Brunch. There we go.
And over to his left, we got one of the hosts of Turnbuckle Talk. We got Mighty Joe. Mighty Joe, how are you this morning?
I am doing good, man. It is a good time to be sitting down here with you fine gentlemen to talk some professional wrestling. It's a great time to be a professional wrestling fan. There's a lot of buzz, whether it be tremendously positive, whether it be negative. It's got us all talking, and that is the great thing about doing what we do is that, dude, we get to talk about things that we love talking about, professional wrestling. That's what brings us all together here on Love Wrestling.
And below me, we got Actually, you know what? I don't even call you that name. I always call you Lawrence. I'm a good fellow.
Good man.
Lawrence, how are you today?
I'm great. I'm enjoying this big wrestling weekend. And by the way, Alex, I'm just mostly here on behalf of Spencer to remind you every time you show that mug, you were in breach of Love Wrestling copyright. And
well, I mean, if
you
would
have
finally,
racked up thousands of dollars in bills.
if he would finally send me a mug, man, I would gladly show it. But I had to go to the dollar store and get this made myself, so I could finally have one.
He is going to take your house. He is bloodthirsty.
Hey, he can have my apartment.
Alex, before we get to Bobby, I just want to say, if by chance you do need to find a place to go for a Sunday brunch mug, make sure you check out lovewrestling.ca/shop, where you can find all your Love Wrestling merchandise. Bobby Muntz, welcome to Sunday brunch. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. I hope everyone else is as well, too. Looking forward to another Sunday brunch. This is quickly becoming my favorite time of the week, so looking forward to this, guys.
Awesome. And what a weekend it's been, and it's only Sunday morning. Friday. AEW, I think, changed the landscape of professional wrestling as we know it, even with the 1 hour show. So anybody who says wrestling needs to be 2 hours to be impactful, go watch Rampage, because within seconds we saw the pro wrestling return of CM Punk. I mean, no better way to start. This has captivated the pro wrestling community as we know it. Alex, you and I have already kind of discussed this, so I'm going to start with Bobby Munson. What were your thoughts and takeaways of CM Punk? Regardless if you're a fan of him or not, how did you view this entire event on Friday night?
Actually, this was done excellently. Punk's debut was actually a thing of pure beauty. They brought him out in the proper fashion, pulling him out in his hometown of Chicago there. The fans went absolutely crazy for him. I loved his crowd surf that he did with the fans there as well, too. It was so emotional. It was an awesome debut. And in my personal opinion, the best thing that I've seen AEW produce so far to date.
Yeah, pretty well. Lawrence, we'll get to you because we have not gotten you at all about this. Your thoughts on CM Punk returning, and about time you rock that mug, Alex.
I absolutely loved it. Like, I was like even surprised a bit by like how emotional and like excited I was when he came out myself. Like, the reason I, like many people, I was a lapsed wrestling fan. The reason I got back into it was that pipe bomb promo. It voiced a lot of my frustrations, and like it was a dude that looked like a dude like I know that like lives on my block, that's friends with me, and like so I like instantly connected. So seeing him back after all this time, like I honestly took him at his word. I thought I'd never see him again, and like I was happy for him. Like, as I wanted him just to get healthy, like he said. And now that he's in a better place, I'm happy he's back in professional wrestling, and pro wrestling's probably going to be better for it.
Yeah, and Joe, Mighty Joe, before I get to you, Throwback coming in with the comments. What's good, guys? Weathering the storm. Thanks for keeping my day fun. Hey, thanks for keeping my day fun. I mean, without the people in the chat, I mean, what are we really here for?
Yeah.
Also, I just want to get to Pluggo saying Spencer must have blown all the budget in Vegas. Yeah, I heard a rumor that he put all of his money on him becoming the new Love Wrestling Elite Championship, and that did not happen. So, yeah, our budget is officially blown. Mighty Joe, your thoughts on CM Punk?
So I was pretty vocal, and I was pretty skeptical about how this was going to all go down. And then, I mean, guys, I mean, like it happened. And it's legitimately the first time in years that I, quote unquote, marked out. Like I leaped off of my couch, and like it was so fantastically executed. Like they got the music, they got him, like the true meaningful interaction with the fans that were there in attendance. I mean, just like it hit every mark, so to speak. And damn, I mean, it really feels like the momentum has shifted towards this company now in professional wrestling, and he really made note of that. Like when he left a Ring of Honor, he left professional wrestling, and now he's back in professional wrestling. And just it's like, dude, like it was so well done, and I'm really, really happy that he's happy, and then the fans are all happy for it, and like it really felt like something special. And even doing the ice cream bars at the end, like that was just icing on the cake, right? Just dude, I'm just gushing about it, and I wasn't expecting to. I knew it was going to be cool, but it was just it way over exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, I showed my wife, happy 6-year anniversary, by the way. In my defense, she takes care of her grandma Sunday morning, so I'm in the clear doing this one and only show today, so I'm not in trouble.
I'm also really, really happy too that they. I mean, I guess we're all knowing that was going to happen, but they never officially announced it. They kept that anticipation going right until that moment, and they maximized the pop and the reaction that they got.
Yeah, Pluggo coming in. Punk returning as a fresh air, as stated. If you build it, they will come. Field of Dreams. That was the case.
Really good comparison.
Yeah, and nothing. Really good seeing how they just did the Field of Dreams game, which I thought was actually pretty cool. Even Punk and Tony Khan did a presser at the end, and they pretty much stated that this was designed to be the worst kept secret in professional wrestling. And I mean, they're not wrong. But I mean, at the same time, it's one of those things where wrestling fans, I think this is a difference of opinion for some, but I do believe pro wrestling sometimes, even if you know what's happening next, it could really dictate whether you enjoy it or not, depending on how it's done. Am I correct to say that? Are you guys all in agreement? Or if not, what would you guys say to that? Because to me, if it's done well, it could take away that I know what's next. But with that being said, as long as it's not a big, a return is one thing, a debut could be one thing, a moment in time should not be called out in advance. Am I right? What do you guys think about that?
It's one thing to just flat out spoil a surprise, but I mean, the way this is done with all the speculation stuff, they didn't even need to announce it. I mean, going into that show at that night, we knew we were going to get CM Punk. But at the same time, there was still that element of doubt, which, like I said, we kept that anticipation going right up until that happened with the music, and it was like, holy shit, it's CM Punk, right?
Yeah.
So,
and the budget is gone already. Thank you for that one, Mighty Joe.
They say shit on CBC, so we're good.
And now we're in the hole. That's a deductible, I hope. But we'll go to Alex, Bobby, Lawrence. Your guys' takeaways on just because I think we saw it too with Friday night on SmackDown, where they kind of revealed who was going to win between Reigns and Cena, where Reigns said, if I don't walk away with the title, I'm gone with WWE. They kind of took it in the other direction, and it kind of seemed too predictable. And in my opinion, it kind of wrecked the feeling going in. Whereas with Punk, you knew this, weeks, months prior, and they still pulled off what was probably one of the best moments in 2021. So your guys' thoughts on just knowing something prior, I guess.
I mean,
first of all, didn't they kind of give away the Roman Reigns Cena one in the first place? Because Cena's a movie star. He's not sticking around for the long term right now. I think we were all pretty much aware that Reigns was walking away with the championship last night. Pretty obvious there, but I don't think it ever took away from Punk, because absence makes the heart grow fonder. And this guy walked away at the height of his popularity, gave a middle finger to the company he was working for, and has made everybody wait for so long for this debut that it had a certain type of magic that has been missing from professional wrestling for years.
Lawrence, we'll go to you.
Oh, I think they handled it really well. I think they knew it was probably going to leak, and just by not necessarily saying it, but winking at it the entire time. And because as wrestling fans, we're fundamentally broken people, and we're taught even the thing we're told to expect, not to expect it, that we still, even though they were trying to be as obvious as possible without saying it, that I think it worked out well in the end. It still somehow felt a little surprising when that music hit. We're still oh man, this is actually happening. And you could feel that in the arena too, that even though the entire arena was expecting it, the moment that cult and personality hit, there was that second, just a half second, oh my God, it's actually happening.
Pretty amazing what happens when you give the people what they want.
I legitimately had a handful of people that I knew back in high school that haven't watched wrestling in years message me on Facebook. They're like, holy crap, CM Punk is back. For legit, people that have been they haven't watched wrestling in over a decade, and they heard about this and they tuned in, and there was like a legitimate, like my Facebook feed, like almost every single person that I know that is like even slightly remote to wrestling had something on their Facebook page about this. People are still buzzing about it. We're still talking about it right now.
Yeah.
Alex, we'll go to you. Just final kind of thoughts about the CM Punk and kind of how you knew something was happening.
Well,
So kind of like, what's your thoughts on this?
Like, this was the kind of thing where the writing was on the wall, like we had heard rumor that he had signed, and we knew that they were going to be in the United Center in Chicago, of all places. And, the first dance, and, Tony Khan was talking up that this is not going to be an atypical, this is going to be a special type of broadcast for Rampage. So, just seeing all that and speculating and just, bringing it up and building it up in ourselves. Like, part of me wanted to turn on Rampage that night and kind of get a swerve, and we get somebody else calling themselves the best in the world. And then later in the night we get, through the anticipation, but just sitting there and hearing the music and seeing him actually come out. Like Joe said, I was definitely a mark at that moment in time, but it was, it's been kind of an overshadow for all of wrestling. Like, we're still talking about it to this day. We're probably going to be talking about this for a while now. And to go back to like Cena and Reigns, like, we knew, that Cena wasn't going to be around for very long, and we kind of know, if we're following, that it's going to be eventually Roman versus The Rock. So them just kind of putting that stipulation that if Roman loses, he's going to leave at the very last second, the day before the pay-per-view, it didn't really have any bearing or any atmosphere on the match itself from last night, which I'm sure we're going to get to. But yeah, just you kind of knew when going in, like, oh, this is going to happen, as opposed to like what AEW did. Like, we were still just very, oh, is it going to happen? And that's what makes me a wrestling fan. I love those moments where we have to continue to speculate, continue to wonder up until the last second of what's going to happen. And then, it obviously paid off.
Yeah, I think if you're able to still keep the emotional investment of someone, despite them having a previous, whether knowledge or, a strong intuition of what's happening next, if you're able to kind of, put a little bit of doubt and then still be able to kind of toy with that emotion, ultimately give them what they want. I mean, that's just storytelling. And that's something that, we're seeing AEW starting to do a lot more of it properly. And I want to say that's because they've been starting to bring in a lot more veterans out of this. Just because I personally believe that they have now a good mix of talent, whether it's the veterans, whether it's the young talents. I just hope now that they look at the roster and say, hey, if we're bringing in people now, we really need to beef up this women's division, because we really need to make this the best female division in pro wrestling. And then I think they really have a lot of the cylinders firing.
Yeah. And the relationship with the NWA, you have access to, Mickey James, Thunder Rosa, Serena Deeb. I mean, we could theoretically see Serena Deeb and CM Punk on the same program. And Lou Gallo's still around. I mean, and that kind of stuff. I mean, you could really kind of play with some stuff there, but there's a potential with the relationships with the Forbidden Door being swung wide open at this point to really do some cool stuff there.
Yeah, Drew hopping in the chat. Who else thought MJF was going to come out to Nuclear Heat?
Never.
I mean, I didn't. Also, welcome. Thank you for joining us, Drew. I do think that's something that we could see later on if we're ever going to go into a CM Punk MJF feud down the road. But I think this was definitely a situation where you just give the people what they want. I mean, am I wrong on that end?
Not at all.
They even put Jurassic Express over right after. They kept that good feeling, train momentum going throughout the whole show.
Yeah, I mean, even though, like, I don't know about you guys, but I still felt that 1 hour show really felt rushed after the CM Punk segment. But with that being said, I still feel even if you don't oversaturate it with stuff, a 1 hour show can be very beneficial in professional wrestling. Even the NWA, they do that pretty well themselves. So does this kind of does Rampage change any of your guys' mindsets about whether or not there should be more 1 hour programming shows opposed to 2 hours in professional wrestling? Because that was a takeaway for me watching Rampage for the first time.
Less is more.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Less is more, definitely. We were left wanting more after that Rampage, and we've gotten 3 hour Raws, 2 hour SmackDowns, 2 hour NXTs right by now, and it's been very okay, when are we going to get to the we've got a hot segment, where's the next one to keep us going, keep us interested, keep us wanting to watch. But with Rampage, it was definitely a let's keep going, let's see what's going to happen next. And if in the difference between this Rampage and last week's Rampage, I'm pretty sure that they're going to go back to what they did last week, where they had 3 solid matches keeping you hyped the whole time. This was definitely a special episode, and it's going to be interesting to see what they can keep doing with Rampage going forward.
Yeah, Bobby, I want to turn to you because you're definitely in that. You're in more of a behind the scenes too in terms of what you do. Your thoughts on the 1 hour opposed to 2 hours, and how do you kind of view that? And what do you think is the main difference that you should focus on a 1 hour program opposed to a 2 hour?
Well, I got to say less is more, as everybody's kind of said already, definitely. I don't know if Rampage is what changes my opinion on that, because I've been watching MLW Fusion on a regular basis, and they do the 1 hour programming quite perfectly in that sense. They give you 2-3 strong real matches on the show while doing a great build up for what's coming in the weeks to come, letting you know that kind of thing. So 1 hour is definitely a great wrestling based focus. It's kind of like watching your favorite television program each and every week. You're not watching 2 to 3 hours or anything like that, watching it all drawn out. You're anticipating that next week. You've got something to grab onto, and that's what 1 hour of television does excellently. It gives you just enough to tease you, to make you want to come back next week, be ready for it, be excited. This is exactly where wrestling needs to go, in my personal opinion. I understand that with big companies like WWE, it might be difficult. You're pulling away a lot of sponsorship and stuff like that, but definitely AEW did it right with Rampage. MLW has been doing it right with Fusion for quite some time, and NWA does it great with Power as well too. So the 1 hour wrestling show is proven fact that it can be done right and make us come back wanting more.
Yeah, and that was another reason why I turned to you, because I know you're a big supporter of the MLW, so I wanted you to kind of give us a little bit of comparisons to the people who might not be such aware of what MLW does. You're one of the guys that definitely has the insight. Lawrence, I'll turn to you just to kind of close out this discussion. Your thoughts on the 1 to 2 hour programming?
There are a lot of benefits to a 1 hour, but also it doesn't quite work when you're a big company like AEW and WWE, because you have such big rosters, and that's less time for those roster spots to get TV time, to get more storylines over. So it works perfectly for a thing like NWA, and one show a week with AEW as an add-on to their Wednesday show. But I think the 2 hour for a bigger company works better. Raw's 3 hours is insane. It's just for advertiser money. It's the only reason they're keeping it there. It's way too long, especially given the amount of wrestling there is on during a week. It's asking too much of fans. That's why the ratings ratings are going down. It's because no one could really stand that long. But yeah, I think 2 hour for a bigger company works. For a smaller and independent company, an hour is great because you don't have that much you don't have as big as a roster, but you could also give your roster a little more TV time with less advertising in the middle.
Yeah.
But, can I add to that one?
You most certainly can.
Yeah, because when we're talking about that too, we take these 2 and 3 hour shows that are on every single week, and if you strip away the long drawn out entrances and the 30-minute matches that go picture in picture into commercials and stuff like that, you can get a lot more 10 to 15-minute matches and get that roster out there even with a 1 hour programming.
Mm-hmm. Fair point.
To make a restaurant reference for you guys, have you guys ever been to a restaurant that has a 20-page long menu and had good food?
No.
Go to a small restaurant that has a 1-page menu that has maybe 10 items, you are going to get quality food. To make a reference, Sarah.
Yeah.
And I think it's a valid comparison. If you have 3 hours of quality over quantity, right?
Yeah.
Put on 3 good, solid matches instead of 10 mediocre ones that we will never talk about 10 years from now.
Yeah, and it's really all depending on how you execute the time and how you execute the benefit of each program. I mean, there's a lot of benefit from a 1 hour, and there's a lot of benefit from a 2. So there's definitely pros and cons to both. So it all depends, in my personal opinion, just the execution. Because if you execute it poorly, I mean, we watch Raw every night. They can hit a lot of good things, but over 3 hours, it tends to drag on because it's too much time. So it's just that thing. Like sometimes you kind of run the risk of doing too much, and sometimes you run the risk of doing too little. So having that set time really is beneficial if you do it properly. We have a comment with Linda. We thank you very much for coming. Shorten the dang entrances, and I had to say it that way because I know there's probably that accent in there. She also said less is more. Keeps me interested, not bored, and that's definitely something I think we got to take into account. We are kind of hitting the halfway point, which is pretty unreal, seeing how we've only really talked about 2 things. Joe, I know that we have a calendar going on. Do you want to kind of show everybody what we have going into this week, just so everyone could take a little bit of a second just to collect? Maybe they got to refill a little bit, so we'll give them a little bit of a chance. We'll do it again later in the show because, we plug like morons in here.
Let's see if I can make this work here. So coming up tonight, Josh Robinson on the Legacy of, we'll be looking at Kelly. We have them on on Monday, we have also Spencer Love interviews. On Tuesday, we have the mind behind Power Out and the War Report. On Wednesday, Turnbuckle Rewind, featuring Jushin Thunder Liger versus Rey Mysterio from WCW. We have the War Report. And on Thursday, Between Two Beards. On Saturday, we're going to be talking some NWA. And it looks like on Sunday, we will also be covering NWA's 73rd anniversary. That is going to be very cool as well.
Yeah, and big news coming out of the NWA that Ric Flair is going to be kind of rejoining the NWA in some sort of yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's one of those things where who doesn't want to see Ric Flair with the 10 pounds of gold? There's a visual again. Like not saying he has to win it or he has to wrestle for it, but just seeing Ric Flair hold it one more time. I mean, that's like a pretty cool nostalgic feeling for all the old time wrestling fans. I mean, I'd be upset if I didn't mention that we still have a night of professional wrestling ahead of us tonight with NXT TakeOver 36. So let's just dive into that. Your guys' thoughts on the show tonight. Are we excited? Are we not? Are we what's our thoughts? And I'll start with Lawrence on this one. Your thoughts on TakeOver 36. What are you looking forward to? And what match do you think is going to steal the show tonight?
So I'm pretty excited for it. Obviously Adam Cole, that baby, is going to be an absolute banger. It's going to be a hell of a match. I'm very excited for that and see what happens afterwards. Because it's still not 100% sure if he's going to AEW or staying with WWE. I'm very excited for that match. I'm excited to see Samoa Joe back in the ring finally after so much time. I think everyone wanted to see him back in the ring so badly, and to finally getting a chance to see him out there and just watch him and Karrion Kross just beat the hell out of each other is going to be it's going to be a crazy physical match, and I'm very excited for it. Very excited to see Samoa Joe back.
Bobby, we'll turn to you. Your thoughts on NXT TakeOver 36. What are you looking forward to? Are you watching it? And thoughts.
Yeah, I'll be watching for sure. Very much looking forward to O'Reilly and Cole. I mean, who wouldn't be? Seeing Joe back in the ring with Karrion Kross is going to be great. But Dragunov versus Walter is the one I'm excited for the most. I love the first encounter that NXT did with these guys. I've been watching them back from their time in Germany, WXW in Germany. These two used to tear each other apart over there. And when I heard about this first encounter that they were doing, I knew it was going to be blockbuster. It was everything I wanted it to be. The build-up for this one's been fantastic. I'm very much looking forward to it. Love Walter, but Ilya Dragunov is something special inside that ring.
I mean, should we comment on this comment?
I wouldn't say that we don't care, but there definitely has been a lot going on. I think that could be a fair statement.
I mean, he's not wrong in the sense of how much AEW and SummerSlam have already taken out. I mean, it's been pretty action-packed. I mean, this is a pretty big weekend for in the world of pro wrestling. Alex, I'm going to turn to you. NXT 36.
Yeah, I'm going to be watching because this is kind of my job now. I have to kind of watch everything. So earlier this week was kind of my first time seeing what's going on now with NXT, and it's kind of gotten me excited to see what's going to happen this weekend. And I'm hoping, and I'm praying that they step up their game and they bring us something a little bit more than they did last night. Very excited to see Cole versus O'Reilly. Very, very excited to see Joe versus Cross. I'm personally a big fan of Joe. But yeah, as Dragunov versus Walter, I think for me is going to be the sleeper because these guys are going to beat the ever-living crap out of each other. And I want to see that. Bring me that kind of realism. Let's see that. And then, if you're not asleep after TakeOver tonight, I'll be there with the reacts. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. No sleep, Alex.
And Joel, I'll kind of finish off with you. Thoughts on TakeOver? I'm assuming you're looking forward to Dragunov and Walter, aren't you?
I'm just glad that I have fans, that have people that like Joe. Like I'm stoked. Right?
Two different Joes.
But for me, I mean, of course, Walter and Dragunov. I hope that they will just kind of let them go out and kind of just have a match and not like try and recreate the first match because that doesn't always pan out well. Just let those guys go out there and do what they do and don't overly script these guys. But for me, the big one that I'm looking to watch is LA Knight and Cameron Grimes. Nobody's really mentioned it yet. I mean, the storytelling and the matches these guys have been putting on, and including Mr. Ted DiBiase, I mean, those are three elements for success, guys. I mean, LA Knight, since coming over to NXT, I mean, I was a fan of him in Impact, but I mean, like, those two guys have just been killing it on here. It's been highly entertaining to watch. Even the little comedy segments, even on the golf course and stuff, that stuff has been fantastic. So looking forward to that. And of course, I mean, Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly, I'm looking forward to that as well. And just looking forward to seeing what's next for Mr. Adam Cole because he is just somebody, regardless of where he ends up, I want him to be successful because he's earned and deserves the success. It'll just be nice to see somebody that is worked so hard to actually get to that pinnacle.
A match that nobody has talked about yet is actually the match for the women's championship match between Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. I'm very curious to see how they are going to perform in this match, given the fact that I believe every other match might actually be more documented and be more. It just it's perceived to be just, massive matches. Like I believe the Grimes and the LA Knight, it's probably going to be a blow-off match for them. We're going to see the blow-off match between Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. We have, it seems like another blow-off match between Ilya and Walter. And then we also have Joe and Karrion Kross, which could very well be Karrion Kross's swan song in NXT, or we could very much see just a change. And then it kind of is lost in the shuffle a little bit, that women's championship match. And I do think this is an opportunity for Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez to kind of put their stamp on the NXT women's division here because it's really their time. Like this is an opportunity for both of them to kind of just say, no, like we're pillars of this brand as well. Don't forget about us. Don't sleep on us. Like we have something to prove. And it's a very good story too, between the two of them. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think Dakota Kai in just her own mind is someone that I'm looking to see if she can really take her game to the next level tonight.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree. Like, I'm excited to see how they will match up because I haven't seen them wrestle each other yet, and I did like the storytelling of like Dakota Kai being the star, and basically her heavier backup becomes the champion ahead of her, and sort of steals her spotlight. And I do like how they built it this time, that they didn't necessarily they didn't wait for them to break up first. That Gonzalez became the champion while they were still together, and you saw like the spotlight fade from Dakota Kai and go to Gonzalez. So I'm excited to see how this is going to work out.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I have a question for you guys. I don't know if we've already addressed it, or if you guys have already addressed it on shows already this week. What's your guys' take on essentially flip-flopping here? We have SummerSlam. We have supposed to be one of the big 4 marquee shows of the year for the WWE on Saturday, and now we have TakeOver on Sunday. We've flipped. Is that of any significance, or is this what do you guys think?
I think so. I have a feeling that Vince wants people to talk about WWE, and I think there's a better shot with a show like TakeOver going into Monday Night Raw. I think he wants to keep the momentum. Whereas sometimes I feel if you have, let's just say, a flop of a pay-per-view, and I'm not calling SummerSlam a flop, I think it was far from a flop, to be honest. I just think it was maybe booked incorrectly in terms of how they put everything. But I do think TakeOver gets the fans excited again, and then I think they want to carry that over to Monday night. So I think that's kind of the plan. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I do think if NXT is going to be changed moving forward, I don't know how much truth there is to the change, that this could be the last time that they get that main event opportunity on that weekend. I don't know. I think it's different, and I don't hate it.
That was my thought process, right? Because the speculation, everything that we've been hearing is that Vince wants to make NXT purely developmental, nobody over 30 years old, right? So it's a bit of a puzzling move to me, and I'm just fingers crossed and every digit on my toes and everything crossed too that doesn't happen, because I've been very vocal that I think that NXT is likely their best brand that they have, and they put on some of the most entertaining shows, and it would be a shame to see that go away.
Yeah, well, I mean, just let's kind of open it up here. Bobby, we'll go with you. Your thoughts on the flipping between SummerSlam and TakeOver?
The one thing I do really like about it is it does kind of give you a bit of a breakup between Raw and SummerSlam and stuff like that. Like, I mean, predating back to the days when WWF were running shows on a Sunday night and their next programming wasn't until the following Saturday with Superstars. I mean, you had that long wait before you had that more discussion and everything like that about the actual pay-per-view. I think giving it this one day in between at least kind of breaks it up a little bit between the stars that you just saw last night and Monday night kind of thing, because then you got a longevity between that and SmackDown as well too. So it kind of really breaks up those people that you're seeing and not seeing them every single night, and gives NXT that chance to shine here tonight as well too, be the talk going into Monday morning. So I like it. It's a nice change.
Mm-hmm. Alex, your thoughts?
So I'm kind of looking at this in a different perspective. I see this kind of as this has been Friday to Monday, all WWE. And I know NXT is kind of on its own pedestal, and I would love it to be on its own pedestal. But we got to all admit, this has all been a block of WWE programming. What I feel the reason they did the swap was to kind of coincide with what's going to happen with AEW. They wanted to have their hot pay-per-view of the summer, SummerSlam, on the night after, so that they could potentially generate buzz going into the week, and then have NXT, which sometimes can be the better show, sometimes it can't not necessarily be the better show. But then go into Raw, they still have a little bit momentum going into the week with their normal or main roster. I hope tonight, if they give us something more than what we're expecting as far as like an NXT or even the WWE programming. I want to be excited for the week, and I want to be, blown away, but I'm not sure it's going to be there.
Lawrence.
I liked it solely from a pragmatic point of view, seeing as SummerSlam finished at midnight, and had it finished at midnight on a Sunday, and I work at 7 a.m. on a Monday, that annoys the hell out of me every time. So from that point of view, putting the show that you know is going to finish super late on a Saturday, great idea. Especially that NXT is a fairly quick pay-per-view and it'll be over by like 10:30. Is it like, I like that on a Sunday. From that idea, I like that very much. They don't have to stay up super late and be super tired the next morning. But let's go ahead.
No. Please finish.
Oh no, yeah, I was losing my train.
I was just gonna say, does anybody think WWE is aware that maybe a Lesnar return, a Becky return, they knew it was gonna be big, people were gonna care about it? Do you think they were even aware that they know that they weren't gonna be able to top a CM Punk return?
I'll field that one first. But first, I just wanted to say I just noticed a couple things on Bobby's background. Spencer Love, I am your father. Fantastic. and Lawrence, you have very good taste in shirts.
Can I refute that? Because this title kind of means I'm his daddy, doesn't it?
Oh, that's up for debate.
Well, I think I'm coming for that title next, so just watch out.
Well, I mean, I'm tired of always beating Matt Spencer, so yeah, you might as well.
I'm gonna have to have a custody of Spencer match.
But yeah, for surprises for
SummerSlam 2022.
Yeah,
but for the surprises, I mean, I think we'd be kidding ourselves if WWE didn't know or wasn't aware of that with what AEW had planned. So clearly they wanted to counter with something. And, Brock and Becky coming back, great, fantastic. But, I'm only speaking for myself on this, that, as cool as it was, I don't think that it came anywhere near to getting that real emotional response from the crowd. Like it's, I don't think it was even the same stratosphere.
Well,
but again, your results may vary. Some people may have loved Brock and Becky coming back. For me, like not even the same ballpark.
Well, no, that was my question. Do we think WWE was aware that, knowing that, yeah, their returns were big, they just knew they couldn't compete with the return of CM Punk, because it's just a different discussion. It's really apples to oranges at this point. If I'm staying with Sunday brunch food, by the way, as we see oranges in the bottom corner beside Bobby right there. But to me, it's just one of those things that I'm happy that at least WWE decided, you know what, we're going to pull out our big guns, because it shows that they're not going to go down easy. And at the very least, if they're making an effort, that means at least that they care and they're aware of the stakes that are being changed right now. So I don't know. Like to me, I like the fact that WWE seems like they understand what's going on, because if they really didn't, and they gave us a really flat SummerSlam, like a true flat SummerSlam, and it was like predictable to the T's, where it's like nothing, like nobody coming back, then I'd be a lot more concerned about their product than I am right now.
Well, we're seeing like surprises and stuff all across the board. We mentioned Ric Flair, now the NWA. Will Ospreay showing up over in the New Japan North America show over in Los Angeles. Eugene Nagata teaming up with Moxley. I mean, like all these kind of stuff are happening at the very, very least. Like whether you like each of these individual things, with all these surprises, like every wrestling fan's bound to find at least one of these that they go, okay, that is friggin' cool, and I love that. So everybody's getting something to really be stoked about here, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, and I think that really explains even the five of us here. Like, we all don't love the exact same thing in professional wrestling, but what we all do is love professional wrestling. So the fact that we all kind of have our different niches of what we enjoy, the fact that we can come on here and talk about what we love, I mean, that's what it's all about. So I really encourage more people to do the same and stop the negativity that we see on the Twitter and just start enjoying professional wrestling game, because it's really cool. And right now it's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. It really is.
So with that said, I have a question for all of you guys. And it's a fun one. After tonight, we do not know where Adam Cole is going to be. In your opinion, and I'll start with Alex, where do we see Adam Cole moving forward? and what is the dream match in that promotion for him?
You see, you put me on the spot for this. I really hope he goes to AEW, and it only makes sense because we've got
Really?
really,
Really?
and it only makes sense because we've got his love interest, Britt Baker, DMD, on the same show. So it only makes sense that they would both be there. As far as the fantasy matchup, there's as well as with Punk, there are just a list of Jericho amount of people that I would love to see him wrestling. Give me a Cole versus Kenny Omega. Give me Cole versus Punk. Give me Cole versus Paige. Maybe relive some of those Bullet Club days. It could be anybody. Just give it to me.
Mighty Joe.
Yeah. AEW.
Oh, I see how excited you are. I'm not gonna skip you.
for several reasons. First of all, okay, they literally, the Bullet Club literally killed him on his way out the door. So there's that major score to settle with like every member of the Bullet Club. So there's that, right? So, and because he would be with the AEW, that opens the door to working with Impact Wrestling. Several great matchups you can have there. NWA, some cool stuff you could have there. And, of course, with New Japan Pro Wrestling, he could go over there and be in the best of Super Juniors. Guys like Hiromu Takahashi, Naito, Okada. I mean, there are dream matchups galore if he goes over to AEW. And he's a smart dude, and he knows that. So it's just a matter of what he decides to pick. Like I said, I just want him to be happy and to be successful as a professional wrestler. At the bottom, wherever he ends up, as long as he gets to that point where he has some legitimate success, that's all I want for the dude. He deserves it.
Bobby.
I mean, the obvious place for him to go is going to be AEW. It's a pretty standard place for guys to go after they've left WWE nowadays. If I'm fantasy booking this thing, I'd love to see him show up in MLW, of course, being a big supporter of their work. And there's a plethora of guys over there that he could be locking up with. Jacob Fatu, the champion over there, Alexander Hammerstone. They got Davey Richards over there now, so I'd love to see him get back in the ring with Davey Richards. That would be another phenomenal match. But then guys like Alex Kane and EJ Nduka over there as well, too. Great matchups that Cole could be having all over the place in MLW. Would love to see it. Whether we're going to see it, that's another question. I'm pretty certain he's going to end up in AEW.
Hey, Bobby, a quick question about MLW. If by chance people in the chat are like, what is this MLW you speak of? Where can I go find them? Where can the people go find more MLW action?
Well, right now you can find recaps of all their shows or replays of all their shows on their YouTube channel. So Major League Wrestling was putting Fusion out on a weekly basis on YouTube. They did sign a deal with Vice TV. They were going to have a program that was going to be starting there, but since then that has dropped. Court Bauer, the head of MLW, is actually going to be making an announcement very, very soon that he says is going to benefit everybody. So they're still going to be able to keep up with MLW Fusion on a weekly basis. It won't be on YouTube, but there will be another way to find it. And it sounds like it's still going to be free for fans to watch as well.
Yeah. Lawrence, we'll go to you now. And thank you for that, Bobby. It was very, I know you really wanted to talk more MLW, so I wanted to make sure
we'll get there one day.
Oh, we will. We will. But Lawrence, we're sticking with the boom of NXT. Yeah. Adam Cole, baby. Where is he going, in your opinion? And what is the dream matchup in the mind of Lawrence?
Obviously,
tell us.
I'm just gonna leave now. That was entirely creepy. My lawyers, I'm gonna get a restraining order. But creatively,
I'll start calling you the other name then.
Yeah. Creatively, AEW is obviously the better spot for him. Financially, maybe staying at WWE, because the rumors are true. They are backing the Brinks truck up to him and giving him the money. Like it's again that battle of anyone that's in anywhere near the arts between the two, between what creative is more, you'll enjoy more, and what, like, he also has friends in WWE too, is a major part of the party on Up Down Down. And also, like, I feel that if he stays, he's clearly hinted that he's going to keeping his Twitch written into his contract. because he already he has stated that NXT has treated him very well, and it's true because he's one of the few wrestlers that got to keep his Twitch after everything, and he stated that it means a lot to him. The community he's built there has meant a lot to him, which is just as much as money. It's not the entire thing, but it is a major factor to him that he had built a community on Twitch, and that he knows so that's if I'd say it's honestly it's split either one. I'm sure it's not an easy decision for him to leave WWE because he has stated they've treated him very well, and it had the only reason it's absolutely hard is because AEW is absolutely the perfect place for him to go, and there's literally hundreds of dream matches to have there with him. I would like to see Ghost Adam Cole revenge against everyone that murdered him. That's going to be a lot of fun for them to explain on Being the Elite of him showing back up alive again. So yeah, I'm excited for his future. Yes, I'd be a little disappointed if he stays in WWE just from a creative standpoint, but it's clearly what's best for him, and he clearly has thought out and debated this for a while now.
I now ask, what do you mean by creative standpoint? Are you just assuming he's going to get buried if he goes to a Raw or SmackDown?
The proof's in the pudding. I think they're going to give him a fair chance, but there's a very good chance that you can in WWE, especially on the one show, after a while it does get stagnant because you're going to face the same wrestlers, the same 10 wrestlers over and over again for a few years, unless he get drafted back and forth. But it does. There is a point where it does get creatively stagnant there, and we've seen that time and again. Even if he does get pushed.
Yeah. See, I would Joe.
I would love, for me, if you keep Adam Cole in WWE, this is where I've said before, you take NXT and you legitimately build a third brand around guys like him, Pete Dunne, Raquel Gonzalez, and the women's side of things. You build a legitimate third brand. If they do that, they can maybe entice him to stay. Because then I think that could totally work there. But if he just gets called up to Raw or SmackDown, I mean, you can set your clock to when he'll be waiting to get out of there to then finally end up in AEW.
See, I'd like to think it's a lot to do with who he's matched up, because I think if he's on, say, a SmackDown brand and he gets to work with, the Finn Balor's of the world, the Edges of the world, especially an Edge of the world, he's going to get a lot of freedom in just creativeness. He's also going to get a really solid build out of this. And who doesn't want to see him against Seth Rollins again? They just had an absolute banger of a match when he was up, I believe, on Monday Night Raw for that one show. The man that I really want to see him kind of dive into a deep feud with is Randy Orton. I love Randy Orton's storytelling so much. I think he is one of the best wrestlers in the game right now, because there's just so many little nuances that he does that are just so perfect and on point all the time, to the point where I believe that he is going to be able to – he can take anyone and just make them a bigger star as well. What he's doing with Riddle just makes me want to see more out of Riddle. And I really want to see – what Randy Orton could do for an Adam Cole. And the fact that Randy Orton is still in peak condition, I still think he's kind of in his prime. He might be at the latter point of his prime, but the guy's not slowing down. I would love to see a real feud with them. And I think this is really a missed opportunity if we don't get Randy Orton working a lot more with these kinds of talents, because I really do think if you're going to build new superstars now in WWE, you got to make sure that they go through, whether it's a John Cena, an Edge, a Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, and eventually now Roman Reigns.
Unfortunately, the problem with that is you're talking about stuff that WWE is not currently doing.
No, but I mean, like we said, CM Punk has changed the landscape of the game.
Outside of WWE, he's changed
to a point where we don't know if this is going to affect the way WWE does things moving forward. We don't know. We cannot judge on the things we don't know. Time will tell. If anything is like what we know of them, chances are they will not.
Yeah.
But with that being said, the fact that I've heard a lot of rumors that there is internal change happening in WWE. I'd like to think that maybe a lot of the reasons of these releases that we're seeing over the year could be because, maybe the plan is to make room for the stars of NXT and bring them up so they can use NXT as a platform of development. But then they're actually taking the stars that they have made in NXT and giving them the bigger platform, whether it's on a USA or a Fox. And if that's the case, I'd be more okay with it. I'm hoping that's it. And with WWE, all I have is my hope, because that's really all I got nowadays. But I would love to see Adam Cole at least get a WrestleMania under his belt. And if we want to talk about what he deserves, WrestleMania, I believe he deserves a WrestleMania moment. And I would love to see a WrestleMania size baby.
Of course, and we all want the WWE to succeed too. I mean, dude, like with Punk on Rampage, when he drew the line in the sand there. He said, like when I left Ring of Honor, I left professional wrestling, and now that I've come back to AEW, I've come back to professional wrestling. I mean, fans aren't stupid. They picked up on what he said there, and that's not necessarily a paradigm shift, but I mean that seed is implanted in a lot of professional wrestling fans' minds now. So you're gonna have to figure out what's going on. It's interesting. It's getting us talking. It's all good.
And that's it. When you're back against the wall, what do you do? How do you react? And I feel WWE now is getting pressed up against that wall. I'm going to go around the horn. Please say one thing that you have loved about this weekend so far in this week of professional wrestling, and then hit us with your socials. Bobby, I'm going to start with you. One thing that you absolutely have loved about pro wrestling this weekend, and where can we find you on the social media?
So one thing I loved about this weekend, I got to say, was that opening match at Summerslam. Surprisingly, the tag match that opened up the show, I thought was a lot better than my expectations were for it. So, I mean, mad props to Riddle, Randy Orton, as well as AJ Styles and Omos for opening up a decent card. I mean, I didn't dislike SummerSlam, so I enjoyed it as a whole, and that match really drew me into it to start things off, so I loved it. As for checking me out, remember you can check me out on my own YouTube channel as well, too. That is the Video Bros Network, where myself and Papa Spokes bring you Ring Respect Radio. We talk about old school wrestling stuff for back in the territory days to right up into the 1980s and stuff like that as well, too. We're big fans of all that old school stuff. And we just dropped a recent one about a couple guys, Bobby Eaton. We talked about his life and career, and then we went into the book review of the Eighth Wonder of the World, Andre the Giant, and also everything we learned about his wrestling career starting back in France and right up until his WWF time. Check it out. It was our most fun episode we've done to date.
Yeah. And Bobby, if I know your work to be anything like you, I know it's going to be absolutely amazing. So yeah, I definitely will ask everyone to go check that out and support Bobby, because we love him. And hey, Alex.
Yeah, too.
Alex.
Yes.
Make sure that we listen to Lawrence and his answer. What was one thing you like to take? Oh, yeah.
I think the obvious thing would be CM Punk, but especially I enjoyed, at least on my Twitter feed, one thing I enjoyed was everyone's defense of the gentleman who was crying in the audience, who's obviously emotional, seeing it, and how everyone came to his aid. Like,
I'm clapping.
That like made me happy, especially we're a community here who backs it up, and like we all clearly it's in the name and not just Spencer's name. We all love wrestling here, and at times like you get emotional, and like the just unbridled joy of everyone online of seeing CM Punk again made me incredibly happy, and it's gonna fuel me for the next few weeks.
To quote a David Grohl, it's times like these we learn to love again. But where can we find you on the social media?
In the name at KurtSandDG on Instagram and Twitter. You can come see my bad jokes all the time.
All right. Alex.
Hot takes.
Alex, I'll turn to you now. I'm not gonna forget about you, buddy.
Aw,
I'm not gonna
you.
forget about you.
And that's all the time for Alex's plugs.
Yeah, there you go.
Mighty Joe.
Joe did no. But yeah, no, something that you're gonna remember about this weekend, something that tickled your funny bone and you appreciate in the world of pro wrestling. And where can we find you on the social media?
I mean, definitely one thing was the surprises. I love surprises, and just to see, even CM Punk showing up, like I was very surprised. I always have that little bit of a doubt in my mind, but seeing him actually coming out was very, very much a surprise, as well as seeing the return of Becky Lynch and Brock Lesnar. I love it. I love it when I don't get something I'm expecting. I love it when it's more than I expected. So I hope that we have even more surprises in store for the weekend. And just, as a community, I'm so glad we are able to come together and enjoy all of these surprises. So, yeah, there's that. As far as where you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube at there we go again. At EctoGuy87. And as far as this week, I will be doing a takeover with recaps tonight, or reacts, I should say, with I have no idea who. Maybe I'll be doing it by myself, and I'll be staring at the camera blankly because I won't have notes again. But as far as for the week,
brother, homework.
Yeah, I know. As far as for the week, I am actually announcing right here that I will be going live on Twitch on the Wednesday prior to AEW to just talk about whatever's going on. Maybe we even talk video games. Maybe we'll talk wrestling. We'll talk about maybe even food. But I also kind of want to give an update of where I am and what's going on in the future of Ecto Guy and Love Wrestling.
Well, before we get to you, Joe, I know, throwback, what other surprises did you guys see down the lines? Who, where, and when? Sorry, was driving to the store. I mean, Joe, I'll let you answer this. I'm going to let you tackle this one. Let us know what you love, where we can find you. And then, if you don't mind, can we please run that beautiful graphic that Zachary took so much of his precious time to make for us about this week in professional wrestling? I want to make sure that he gets solid advertisement on tonight's edition.
Yeah, we'll definitely go through that again. With the other surprises down the line, like I said, just with this partnership with AEW, Ring of Honor, Impact, MLW, the list goes on and on. Just like the potential surprises and dream matches that can happen are just really limited to your imagination, right? So I'm just looking forward to all those kind of dream scenarios happening. I can't really list any specifically because there are just too many to list, and I'd be afraid to forget some.
I want to see Buddy Matthews become the next contender for the NWA World's Championship.
That'd be all right. Yeah, for me, just the coolest thing about this past week was just the buzz and the talk and the conversation that stemmed off of the Punk debut. I mean, I think the last time that I've seen this much conversation and talk and buzz was maybe when Stone Cold stunned McMahon on WWE television. And like we were all like calling each other on the phone and talking at school about what kind of happened. That's like the last time I can register like this much buzz and talk going on about professional wrestling. So that's really, really cool to see. For me, coming up this week, of course, on Turnbuckle Talk this Tuesday, just because of scheduling and real life getting in the way, Carl and I are, of course, going to be talking about the CM Punk debut, SummerSlam, and all that kind of good stuff. On Turnbuckle Rewind for Love Wrestling this week, we're going to be going back to WCW Starrcade 1996, Rey Mysterio versus Jushin Thunder Liger. That is going to be a fun match to break down. Looking forward to that one. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to that too. For the social medias, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at TB Talk Pod.
Yes. And I'll just finish it off with mine before we get to that beautiful graphics, and then we'll close out. What I truly loved about professional wrestling this week is the fact that despite we can all argue about what we liked, what was better, what we're not, there seemed to be a collective coming together and enjoying pro wrestling this weekend. I was absolutely just amazed by how much positivity came out of social media this weekend so far about professional wrestling. And I very much appreciate that because nothing bugs me more than seeing all the people and the hatred that we see on Twitter about what we thought was good, what we thought was bad. there was a lot of people just truly excited about being a wrestling fan, and that I think is what truly matters. Also, side note, the fact that the fans in Vegas cheered for when Bobby Lashley put little Goldberg in the hurt lock, I thought was just awesome. Gonna also point that out. I don't want to say that I like abusing of the children. That is not where I'm getting at. But Goldberg's kid is an exception to the rule. Thank you, Bobby Lashley. Thank you. Darnell, thank you.
Yes.
We are finishing up. I am sorry that you came to see the end, but you can definitely check us again on the replay. Please make sure you check that out. And Joe, can you please play this beautiful graphic one last time before we say our goodbyes?
Because it's been all great, positive kind of stuff. Just to throw one little jab in there before I throw us up. Of course, Parrish is sus. Let's get to what's coming up this week on Love Wrestling. Of course, like I said, coming up tonight, Josh Robinson with the Legacy of series featuring Kelly this week. Looking forward to that one. Spencer Love interviews coming up on Monday. On Tuesday, we have the Mind Behind Power Out and the War Report. On Wednesday, with yours truly and Carl Carefell, we're of course going to be talking, like I said, WCW Jushin Thunder Liger versus Rey Mysterio Jr., the War Report, and Between Two Beards on Thursday as well. On Saturday and Sunday, it is all going to be about the NWA, and that is going to be awesome as well.
Yeah, and don't forget, we will be back with another edition of Sunday Brunch next Sunday as well. And I believe Blowing Off Stream will return next Saturday night as well. I know there's a bunch of us that missed that. And I know I did not give my socials, so you can find me on the Twitter, the Instagram, on all the good stuff at Chris Parrish, Chris.Parrish, and the Chris Parrish. Please, everyone, and make sure that you have a great Sunday. Enjoy TakeOver. And make sure you love wrestling. Thank you so much. Good night. That is my goodbye. Everyone, let's take over. Let's enjoy. All right.